the place to be. Analyze the players and the team. Keep a great company in the stream.
It's a Murali End. Welcome to the show. We're here when you're high. We're here when you're low. Some days you're happy, some days you wanna when happy it's we when man it's them. It's the same place, Murali End. Sri Lanka cricket we go represent. Go tell a friend.
Welcome to the Murali End. It's been a bad day for Sri Lanka fans and a bad few days for Sri Lankan cricketers. My name's Mark Machado. I'm joined by my cousin, the Professor of Cricketology from across the pond, Dominic Machado. We are joining you minutes after Sri Lanka lost the second ODI and therefore the series to Pakistan in Pakistan. The game today was played in what felt quite cold, horrible conditions. Sri Lanka scored 288 batting first, and Pakistan chased that kind of out of canter and ended up just only 2 wickets down. Babar Azam, who hadn't scored a century since the king was the king, became the king. Was in all the runs today. He looks imperial. Rizwan scored runs. Sri Lanka looked absolutely toothless with the ball, with the bat. They all kind of made starts, but none of them were able to really push on. Liana Gay, a player that, you know, there's a lot of debate around his position in the team, was the kind of pick off the batters, I suppose, and Wani did quite well yet again. We want all your thoughts, all your questions, everything. We haven't even got into what happened yesterday and the day before, where the game ended up being postponed. This game was meant to be played yesterday. We'll talk about that as well. Come and join us. Tell us what you think. Leave us your comments. Leave us your thoughts. I'll put once we get into it, I'll put the link to join us backstage as well. Dom, what's your kind of feeling after that game? How are you feeling about everything?
Ooh, that was about as rough as it gets. It was kind of like we were just out there to go through the motions. There was no one who kind of gave us an inspired performance. There were just batters who were coming in and batting and doing their job for a little bit, bowlers who were coming in and bowling, and some of them not really doing their job. We saw issues with captaincy. We saw issues with the bowling lineup. We saw issues of not converting starts into big scores. And it was just all around a frustrating day. It shows you, what the sort of bare minimum of competency was. And it was just a frustrating show from a side that can be much better. These pitches have a lot of runs on them, and we have not taken advantage of that at all.
Dom, in our WhatsApp channel, I said they're playing like a team that don't want to be there. We can't not talk about this game and not mention what happened a couple of days ago. So if you don't know, there was a bombing in Islamabad when Sri Lanka were playing on Tuesday. They were playing at the time when it happened. There was news flashes all around the world. Sadly, people died. Obviously, you know, my first instinct is to send the victims and people in this moment suffering with that attack, my thoughts and prayers. Then the following day, there was reports that Sri Lanka didn't want to, that some Sri Lanka players potentially, according to some reports online, according to some allegations, including the captain, wanted to leave Pakistan and come back. Sri Lanka cricket put what I thought was quite a strange statement that basically implied that there'd be serious issues and serious punishments laid down. That's just what I got from it. That was the implication I got from the statement. If the players didn't do it, the players apparently were talked to by a number of senior people at SLC, also by a number of senior people within Pakistan cricket and the Pakistan security services. There's been loads of footage online now being put up by the PCB and SLC about the kind of security arrangements. They talked about it a lot during the broadcast. However, I still think though, today's game thus far, the players haven't got home yet, has gone off without incident, and seemingly everyone seems to be quite happy at the ground. However, I have, I'm not one. I'm older than every player in the Sri Lanka squad at the moment. So I remember when teams didn't want to come and play against us. We all know about 1996. We all know about the history of what's happened to Sri Lanka and Sri Lankans in the last kind of 40, 50, 60 years. We know that where we come from is a place where violence has happened in the past, and hopefully it never happens again, but you never know, right? So I kind of think that Sri Lanka's in a unique spot with this, but I think the underlying issue here for me, though, is the fact that the players wanted to leave. It was about player safety, and they weren't allowed, not that they weren't allowed to, they were heavily kind of cajoled not to leave, and also seemingly threatened with some sort of formal review. And I think today, I can't take that. I can't separate that from the performance that we saw the boys put in today. I don't know how you feel about it, Dom, or if you think I'm getting carried away and I'm just being another shouty voice in the internet.
Yeah. First of all, to the victims who were harmed and killed in this tragedy, our heart goes out to them, and we are very sorry that this happened. You can tell that it means a lot to the people of Pakistan and the fans that were there. You saw them all holding, Sri Lankan flags, and this is part of a larger political conversation that's ongoing, and that I certainly am not the most aware of or really should be talking about. But I guess I'd say two things. Is certainly it is a ridiculous stance for SLC to kind of hold this over the head of players, right? What I don't think you mentioned, Mark, was that in 2009, we did have an attack on our team, right? There are players who have shrapnel in their legs. This is a real thing that happened. And you can understand why they were scared. And I don't doubt that, Pakistan is doing their best to keep our players safe. Like, I absolutely believe that. And I absolutely think there's a double standard where, I think there was a terrorist attack in London before the 2019 World Cup, right? And no one bothered to say, oh, well, they shouldn't have that there. So I definitely think there are double standards. And at the same time, it does kind of concern you that if these players were worried, they're being kind of held hostage in this situation. That being said, I do agree with you that this was a lackluster performance, but what I don't agree with is that this was uncharacteristic. I think, in fact, this had all the hallmarks of a characteristic Sri Lankan ODI defeat. Everything we talk about, that no fifth bowler showing up, a lack of teeth from any bowler who's not Wanindu Hasaranga, a lack of all-rounders, the top order getting starts but not getting finishes, a lack of a power hitter. Those things were all true and have been issues with the team for the last 18 months. Part of it may be because we haven't really played outside of Sri Lanka very much. And we're struggling to adapt to that, where a pitch where 330 is par, right? So I, on the one hand, totally agree with you that player safety should come first no matter what. And that it's a very, very strange decision made by SLC. But at the same time, I think the players just didn't perform well. And if you wanted a sort of display of the weaknesses of this Sri Lankan white ball setup, we saw that on full display today.
So for me, it's not that I think the players shouldn't be playing or should be playing. Actually, I don't know. I'm not privy to the information that they're privy to. I don't know what the atmosphere is like in Pakistan at the moment. I've never been to Pakistan. Hopefully one day I will do in my life. And as you say, I failed to mention earlier, there is a history of cricket teams being attacked on their way to the stadiums in Pakistan, and that history is with the Sri Lankan coach, right? It's with a Sri Lankan team in a bus on the way, right? So I don't understand that. I don't understand the conversation around it. I also am incredibly lucky that I've never lived in Sri Lanka. I've went to Sri Lanka lots during the time, but I never lived there during the time when it was a place where terrorist attacks were frequently happening, right? I never lived through that, and I think there's a trauma associated with it, which Sri Lankans, including people in our family, that it's hard, that informs almost everything they do in their lives, right? But what I do think SLC have done here is we want our players to go out and show teeth, and in something kind of a lot more it's something that's a lot more serious than playing cricket, which is their own personal safety. When they have shown teeth, they have made decisions. SLC have kind of just turned around and said no, and they're right, like, and that's why I think this performance today was informed by that decision 48 hours ago. Because the players will be playing because we don't know what they were told. We don't know what punishments were dangled in front of them. There's lots of rumors online about what it may or may not have been and how long bans may have come in, or for example. But we don't know what those conversations were like. We don't know what happened. All we do know is that conversations took place and the players decided that they were going to stay and they were going to play this match and continue this series, right? And I think that it's just going to have such a negative impact coming into this game today. And it is a crisis, or if you want to call it a crisis, but it's an issue that has totally been made by the administrators who run Sri Lanka cricket, because they could have just said, right, we understand what you don't feel safe. We are like, just so you know, if you'll go back and you aren't replaced, we're gonna lose X amount of money and we're gonna lose some face, and maybe we'll have to change the way we talk about '96 World Cup and how we won it, and and things that have happened around us. And I think that is all something that we could have all lived with if it had galvanized the team to make that decision. And it might be the wrong decision, I don't know, but it's about the players feeling safe, and it's also about the players being empowered to make big decisions. Because if they can't be empowered to make big decisions off the pitch, how can they be empowered to make big decisions on the pitch, which are, in a way, that's the time when they're kind of doing their job, right? If they have no control of their own lives. That's why I think and you're right to say all the issues we identified with our ODI team came home to roost today. But I think that's all because there is this bigger issue hanging over it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that is, something that has to be borne in mind. We can't know how much it impacted them, but I'm saying I guess it is, we can't excuse them, right?
Yeah. Anyway, should we get into a bit more of the cricket and where it went wrong today?
Yeah.
I thought Wani was all right, but all the rest of the bowling attack was utterly almost pointless. It was like watching the Harlem Globetrotters play Washington, whatever team they play against every other day.
The Generals.
Yeah, the Generals. Except Sri Lanka weren't the Harlem Globetrotters today, were they?
No. I think there are a couple of things that happen. So Asitha, who's usually good with the new ball, he's just not good in other phases. Like, he can get you wickets up top when there's movement, but with his pace, he can't really trouble you. He can't really get bounce out of the ball because he's not, particularly quick. And then Pramod Madhushan somehow leapfrogged Ishan Malinga. And again, bowling 130s, not much movement in the pitch, and didn't do anything. There was no point in bowling him. Chamira was all right. I thought he bowled a few good bouncers. He obviously took a couple of wickets. There were some drops as well, but the bowling attack really looked insipid, and it raises the question of, you have Mahesh Theekshana, who is widely regarded as a very good white ball bowler, being dropped for Pramod Madhushan. And then
did they misread the conditions again?
It looked like it, right? Because Pakistan added a spinner, and Abrar bowled quite well, and we took away a spinner. So there's that. I think the other part of it is it exposes your lack of real all-round options. One of your guys is being hit around. There's no, where else do you go? Who do you turn to? Who do you say, okay, give me a few decent overs? At least if you have, and I'm not saying we need to necessarily bring him into the team, but if you have a player like Dalswin Shanaka, you can say, okay, I'll toss you the ball and maybe you can do something for me, right? You don't have to be a world beater, but you have to at least be competent. And I think you could say the same thing about Chamaka Karunaratne or Chamindu Wickremesinghe, that like you could toss them the ball as a sixth bowling option and think that something realistically is going to happen, or at least try. It's worth a try. I don't think we have that right now. And I think what's even more troubling is we have maybe two good bowlers, and then the third and fourth bowler are bowling like fifth bowlers. So, there's a lack of option, and it really looked like our bowling lacked any teeth, and that unless we scored, 350 plus, there was going to be no pressure on them because they could just play 1 out. That's what they did. They said, okay, you get 35 runs, but we're not going to take any risks against you. We'll save that for other guys.
For me, it was quite odd that Pramod Madushan played today, only because, and I never try and second guess what a team's going to be. So, but I did think it was strange because he hasn't been around in squads recently. We haven't seen a lot of him playing international cricket for 18 months or so.
Yeah.
And then it kind of, is back in the squad and is playing within the second game. I'm slightly worried that, I mentioned that we misread the pitch. I think this is becoming a reoccurring thing. I wonder if anyone can look at the kind of stats of our last kind of 20 or 30 losses across all formats and figure out how many of those were misreading pitches. I suspect it might be quite high. I think we played the team today that we should have played last time round. And I think whenever the next game is on Sunday, I think we'll end up playing a team that should have played today. But we are where we are. I want to know what Isham Malinga's done to not get into the side, because he's looked like an exciting player every time I've seen him bowl. Maybe they don't fancy him. That's all right. I'd like them to come out and tell us why. I think Liana Gay is somebody who there appears to be a lot of chat around, and maybe a big part of the reason why he's in the side is to be that seeming all-rounder, right? I'm just not sure how it's just, for me, I don't really see it as much of a wicket-taking option. Like, maybe it's one of those things that he can grow into that. Sri Lanka always has a player with a bit of magic. I think Asita's magic comes right in his first spell, right?
Yeah.
Once that's done, you're done with his magic. What he's
Yanagay's bowling stats, because look, I guess the thing that's bugging me is like he doesn't ever look like he's going to take a wicket. It's not even like, oh, there's helpful conditions, he might be useful. Like, a Shataka, we've seen like, oh yeah, I can imagine how he could get a wicket. Or even Charatha Lanka, you can imagine how he could get wickets. With Lianagay, it's just like he's there going through the motions. So let's see.
If you're bowling first, or if the opposition have to chase a high score, then I'd assume he'd be the player that they're trying to hit. So you might get some catches, right? But today, when you're stuck in kind of no man's land, you're bowling second, and the score is very traceable. Then I don't think it's not there, is it?
No. And we have to talk. I think also part of this is if you're going to play bowlers who aren't very good, they should at least be able to bat a little bit. You know what I mean? Like if you're going to play Pramod Madushan, who gave you nothing, like I'd rather have an all-rounder who might give you something with the bat. The problem is once we get below 180, those guys play as pure bowlers. And if you're going to play as a pure bowler, to my mind, you have to like be able to take wickets consistently. And I just don't know. Maybe Chamira, I would say, is fine on that front. But we desperately need someone like a Lahira Kumara, someone who's got pace, who can hit the deck. We desperately need someone who can bring something to the squad. At least Mahesh Deekshana, right? You can see the value in him bowling. But that to me is the big issue, is you have these bowlers who are brought in only to bowl and then aren't wicket taking threats. That's just like, what are we doing here?
Can we talk about some of the messages that are coming in? Nizwan wrote, white ball games outside Sri Lanka, we need to play 6-5 full stop. When Indu is bucketed as a bowler, we are basically playing with 4 bowlers, and in most cases, 1 or 2 of those 4 will come in for punishment. Yeah. I think for me this feels right. Um, I I'm going to suggest who I thought the most obvious person to drop is. Sonuda has written, Kamindu Mendes addition to this team just destroyed the balance of this team. You can't afford a player like that at number 7. I kind of think that's interesting. I'll come back to that in a minute. I just want to bring up
I agree. I think there are ways to have him in the squad.
Hold on. I just want to bring up this comment, and then we'll kind of speak of all of them. It's Ticking has written, is it realistic to bring back Danajaya de Silva? That would only work if he's in the top order. He's also written, it's also important to note that Charles Sri Lanka's recent form is extremely worrying, especially from our captain. This is something else that came up in the WhatsApp group during the game as well. Shout out to Kavinka, who flagged up that Asith Fernando's barely scored a run, but also Charles Sri Lanka has been really struggling to score runs as well.
Yeah.
For me, if you are looking to rejig it, this is going to be a major change, but you might the obvious option is to take out our captain. I don't know what you think about that, Dom.
No, so I pretty vehemently disagree. I think his record in one-day cricket is excellent. Yes, he's had poor form, and that's a worrying thing, and I think that's part of the reason why we're not doing well. But the guy to me who has to make way here is Sadira, right? At 4. To me, the obvious move is to move Jonathan up to 4. I think he's fully capable of doing that. Let him see more balls. Like, I'm fine with him being in the side, just to be clear, but I think he should be in the side as a pure batter. If he wants to maybe roll over his arm a couple, an over or two, sure, right? So for me, like, I think that you should move him up, right? And I also think we need a major attitude, like batting attitude reconfiguration. Every batter is the same. They strike at about 85. They're going to come in, take a few balls to get in, then they're going to start hitting singles, and then eventually they'll get, they'll start to hit boundaries, and then they'll get out about 20, 30, 40, 50. Like, bowlers just bowl at us. We're allowing them to bowl at us. We're not at all dictating the terms. And two guys I will not single out, but we've seen that both Patham and Kusal Mendes are capable of dictating terms to the bowlers. We need to dictate terms to the bowlers, make them bowl to us rather than at us. Because right now, they're just going through the motions and we're allowing them to get us out, right? Like, oh yeah, let's get in, we scored 20, and then boom, something stupid happens. I think what we need is a little bit of more aggression, right? Like, we got to 288, and that was a poor batting setup, right? Like, that wasn't enough on this pitch. We need someone to take the risks, to shoulder the pushing the run rate, and then allow the other guys to bat around them.
So, talking about Kamindu a little bit, it appears to me that they've, we talked about this when we were playing against Bangladesh and into the Asia Cup. Kamindu is basically becoming a finisher at this stage. I think it's a weird decision to make because I think he could do everything, kind of, or he has the ability to grow into a batter that can do everything. I think watching.
But he's a top order bat, really, at the end of the day.
Yeah, but they're forcing him to come in lower. He's cursed with being able to do everything, isn't he? Because if he wasn't able to find the boundary as easily as he's started to be able to, and I don't think we're anywhere near the kind of finished Kamindu product, then no. I think he bats higher up. I also think that kind of you got Patham and you've got Kusal, who over the last kind of couple of years have scored a lot of runs for us, and they're kind of getting better and a bit more consistent. And then there's a bunch of them who basically are kind of doing an all right job. I think Liadage, I think he's going to bed tonight with an average just under 50, right?
Yeah, and I mean, just need. So I don't mind him, but we need different types of batters. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. So my thing would be, my kind of challenge would be, if I was the coach, is I'd be like,
who?
Right, you're basically all getting. It feels like you're kind of sleepwalking into being decent players, but where's the dynamism? Are you? I don't want you to go from being average international to finish your careers being average international cricketers. I want you to be match winners. Go out and score me a match winning knock. Go out and make those 50s, 100s, and go out and make those 20s, 60s. Go out and accelerate through. Be a player that becomes undroppable. Be a player that bowlers fear bowling against. Because I thought, I said it in our group when there was a moment when Sadira and Lianage were batting,
and they looked good.
They look good, but while they were batting, I was kind of like, these are the two most maligned players in our side.
Yeah.
And they're kind of maligned effectively, not because they've done anything wrong, but because we kind of think they're boring as batters. I don't know what they're like as people. They seem great. But
okay. Here, I'll put it to you, your thought to you as a question. Yeah. When was the last time Sadira played a match-winning knock?
Was it during the World Cup in 2023?
2023, I would say, is the last time he played a match-winning knock. I can name when Patham last played one. I can name when Kusal last played one.
When was the last time Patham last played a match-winning knock?
Against India?
No, we lost that or drew it.
Okay, well, it was.
Sorry, I'm being facetious.
And before that, there are other games, but and so for me, it's like if he's not going to score 50s, he hasn't scored a 50 as we saw the last 14 or 15 innings. Like, yes, you can have a strike rotator in your squad, but we literally have a bunch of guys who just rotate strike, right? We don't have anyone who's a threat to get at boundaries. So, and I think actually Lianage looks quite good, and I think he could bat capably at 4, and then you can go Charith, and then, obviously I'd like to have Kamindu bat up a bit higher, but I don't know how we could do that. And then have, Wani, and then, a pace bowling all-rounder, God forbid, right, in the squad to do that job.
Nepal lost husband Baba. I think they mean last 100. Look, mate, I think SLC should do a video and like a kind of show reel, be like, are your players out of form?
I was going to say,
you want your players to return to form?
Thanking Sri Lanka for the hospitality.
Exactly. Like we'll send our most toothless bowling unit to your country for a tour.
Hey,
annoy our own players and then make them concede 100 runs to your out of form stars.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on, Dom.
No, I was going to say, I think like we are dependent basically. If we want to get a competitive score, we're dependent on one of Kusal or Patham going berserk, right? Yeah. And then the lower order chipping in a little bit like they did today, right? It's there's no other place. There are 2 match winners. Charith can be one. He's not at the moment, and again, I'm trying to think of the last match-winning knock he played, I think earlier this year. But that's the problem. We have spot fillers, not match winners. I think you could say the same thing about the bowling lineup. Pramod Madhushan, not a match winner. Like, no offense to him. He's, I still remember that 2022 Asia Cup final, taking those wickets. That was huge, right? But that's the, this is what Sanuda's saying. We depend too much on Mendes, Patham, and Charith. If one of those guys doesn't get 100, we're in deep trouble, or close to 100, right? And I think we need to think about how we get more match winners in the game, because going through the motions isn't going to win us games at the highest level anymore.
When we came out of COVID, when we restarted year 0, I remember Mickey Arthur talking about wanted to get Sri Lankan internationals to a place where they were averaging 30 in whichever format, in ODIs and in Test cricket, right? I think we're now at a point where we're kind of there, we're beyond it. And actually, if we want to build a team that's going to go to a World Cup and do something, we need to be seeing match-winning performances put in. Today, we didn't see that. I think there was a lot of mitigating circumstances, as I mentioned earlier on in the show. I also think the conditions, we totally misread it. We're not used to playing in the cold. I felt cold watching it, and I'm in London, and it's like November.
It was 56 degrees Fahrenheit to like 12, 13 Celsius. So it wasn't that.
It wasn't that cold, but
no. But for them, yes, it is cold.
Yeah, for Sri Lankans, that is cold.
I'm kind of laughing because it's like 25 degrees outside, 25
Yeah,
degrees
is it all
Fahrenheit.
snow where you are?
It snowed earlier this week, so yeah, that is, you know, I get it, but
there you go. Sonuda's written, we scored 280 plus today without those three, which is kind of surprising. Yeah, actually, I mean, that last over kind of saved a lot of blushes for us. Last over with the bat,
yeah,
where Wadi was able to kind of get a few boundaries. Madushan got a boundary as well, didn't he? He got a couple of he got at least one fall. Was it two falls?
Hey, Wani,
yeah,
stepping up.
Yeah, it's interesting. Wadi is last two games he's been great with the bat, hasn't he?
Yeah, yeah. I thought that was fantastic. He was fantastic. He looked. I said this in our chat and I tweeted it. He looked, and I don't mean this like he looked like Angelo, but he stylistically his batting reminded me a lot of Angelo. The way he plays those offside shots, and he looked responsible. He did his job, and imagine if we had, you know, we allowed him to actually bat a little bit in the slipstream rather than say, okay, come on, now you got to bat with tailenders and make a big score. What happens if he comes in at the 30th over and you give him 10 overs to just knock it around at, you know, a run a ball and then go into it?
Something's not quite right with this team, isn't it? It's the balance, whether it's, you know, do we need to, what do they need to look at? I wonder if the coaches think that, as in the Sri Lanka team coaches, and if we'll see a change on Sunday, and if we do, what do you think it might be? I mean, I'd like to see a Shamalinga get some sort of game time.
Talking about match winners, right? A guy who we've seen take wickets at the highest level of the best batters in the world, right? That's what we want. We don't want a guy who can just come in there and do his job, right? And even if that means he gives it, like, look at Haris Rauf, right? Like, he's a much maligned player in Pakistan, and we, you know, like, he's made fun of, but even if he's expensive, he can take wickets, and that makes a huge difference. And then the other thing is they have enough bowlers in their side to actually support him, that if he goes for runs, he can still keep on being aggressive. Like, you think about one, he can't be as aggressive as he wants to be because he needs to both take wickets and keep the runs down. Yeah,
absolutely. I was going to say something. I totally forgot what it was. Oh, that was it. We've got a number of slinging options as well, and we haven't even got one in the ODI squad at the moment, which to me seems a bit of a missed opportunity, because today's the exactly the kind of day when you need to have something different, and they are something different. Whether, you know, I know Patarana was injured and Nuran Tishra is around for the T20 stuff. But, you know, I've said it before in this channel, and I think I'll always say it. I think Sri Lanka produces now a number of slinging options. Nowhere else really has that. I know there's a kind of a few slingers around, but no one else has it the way we do. And I think that still is a difficult thing for batters, particularly set batters as well, because I think it moves their eye line and their eye. And I think it's, if you've got them, you've got to play them. Like, there's no point. It's like, you know, having a Ferrari when you go down to having a Ferrari in the garage,
right? That's kind of the theme we're getting to, is like, we're choosing to drive the Honda Civic when, you know, we have a Ferrari. And it doesn't mean that the Honda Civic isn't a good, reliable car that can get you from point A to point B, but if you got the Ferrari, come on.
Yeah, exactly. This is the time to use it. Nizwan has written, need to get Pavan in finally after warming bench for 5 straight ODIs, including Zim games. What's he done wrong, Tom? Do you know?
No, I don't know. I have no idea. And I think this is a big kind of question, is like, what would him getting into the squad actually look like? Right. And again, we're probably playing with a batter too many anyway. the guys who are listed on the team sheet as all-rounders are Charith, Wanindu, and Lianage, and 2 of those guys are not all-rounders, right?
Yeah.
So like we're claiming, oh yeah, well, we're playing 3 all-rounders, 4 batters, and 4 bowlers, but that's not actually what's going on.
I want to pick up on Sunuda's point here. We'll wrap this up in a few minutes. So if you got any thoughts, put them on the side. Sunuda said, Tikshana's form was killing us. We could have won today if Tikshana one combo clicked. I do think when you opt not to play Teeks, you are taking something away from one as well, right? Because sometimes it might be, you might look at the figures and be like, oh, right, Teeks only got 1 wicket or 2 wickets today, or, didn't get any wickets, and he went for X amount of runs, but Waddy picked up 3 wickets.
Yeah.
Because if they come at you, and it might only be for a kind of 8 or 9 over spell, but you've got to try, like, that builds pressure.
Yeah.
In commentary, I did hear somebody say that, dot balls don't build pressure or don't do much, but I kind of think maybe sometimes dot balls can build pressure.
Yeah, they do. They definitely. And I mean, here's the other thing that I'll add to that is that he's when you're building team, you want guys, you want match winners, and you want guys who can solve problems. Tikshana is a problem solver, right? Okay, your seamers are going for runs in the power play. You can send in Tikshana. You need to slow down the run rate in the middle overs. Send in Tikshana. You need someone who can bowl at the death because your other guys are carting around. You can use him, right? So for me, his flexibility and the ability to use him in so many roles I'm not going to say it's a superpower, but it's a huge advantage to the team. It gives you more options, right? They had to go to Charith in the power play today.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have it, they were getting carted around and they had to figure out something different.
Dom, should we wrap it up there for today? We are Sunuda, don't even ask.
KFC.
I mean,
okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard all the KFC jokes today, but
yeah, there was a lot of reference to the sponsors, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Talking about that, we're sponsored by Kid Rated. Go visit kidrated.com. You'll enjoy it. Dom, we'll be back on Sunday, or at least some configuration of us will be back on Sunday.
Yeah.
Throw it, moving the games around. Look, and I understand why it had to happen, but it's not great for our planning. We've all got wives as well. Wives, and I'm gonna. Dom and Estelle and Nick have a life. I don't really have a life, but everyone else has a life.
What you guys don't know is that Mark has the most active social life out of all of us.
I don't think that's true. I actively go out my way not to socialize with people. Sanuda's asked, why not tomorrow for the emerging game? That's a really good question, Sanuda. Basically, because I have a wife, and
who would kill me if I was like, sorry, I'm going to spend 5 days a week podcasting.
Yeah,
maybe we'll put out some tweets. I'll put out some content, some tweets, so you can expect some tweets and things from me, because I'll be watching for sure.
Yeah, what I will say as well is that none of us on this are expecting Murali End to start paying our mortgages and stuff. However, the more followers, the more subscribers, the more people who are interacting with us, the easier it makes it to justify doing more content. So if you want more content, and all of us want to make more content, if there was any way in which I could just talk about and watch and be involved in cricket my whole life, and for all 24 hours in a day, then I would take it. But please help us out by spreading the word of what we do, getting your friends and family to subscribe to the channel. That's the easiest and best way for us. Join the WhatsApp channel, subscribe to the Substack. I do promise we'll start writing on that again very soon, and then we'll be able to kind of grow sideways and do more content around the emerging game, do more content around domestic cricket. We don't need to cover school cricket in Sri Lanka because that's very well covered.
Already well covered.
But we'll do everything else. We'll fill in all the other bits, and hopefully we'll all have a good time. I like to think it's a fairly democratized product as well, so you guys feel like you can have your say and stuff like that. Thank you for joining today. Thank you for watching. We'll be back on Sunday. See you all then. Bye.
It's the Murali End, you're in the place to be. Analyzing players in the team.
Murali End. Welcome to the show. We're here when you're high, we're here when you're low. Some days you're happy, some days you wanna when happy it's we, when mad it's them. It's the same place, Murali End. Sri Lanka cricket we gon' represent. Go tell a friend.